In this video, I'm going to teach you guys exactly how you can make a character in Ponytown. I'm going to go over all of the character creation steps, everything in there, all of the options, and by the end of it, you will hopefully be super knowledgeable and know everything there is about making a character. Now, before I do fully begin, I do want to mention a couple of things. One, this isn't going to include major tips on how to make your character look nice. It's mostly just going to go over everything because this is going to serve as an ultimate guide to making ponies in Ponytown. So we aren't going to get any kind of fancy stuff here. We're not going to make a super beautiful character by any means. We're just going to go over all of the processes involved in doing so and hopefully teach you guys exactly how to make characters in Ponytown. So assuming you've never played the game before, you're going to start off with a default character that looks a bit like this. It's red with yellow hair and it's all nice and lovely. If you want to make a new pony, there's a few things you can do. First of all, you can just hit this button that says new and it will create a new character. It will again be default just like this one and you'll have to name it and do a bunch of stuff with from there. If you have a character you already have and want to edit it, you can hit the edit button right here, or you can even just go to the character tab right up here. If you press on that, it will bring us to a new menu which has several options on it. But for starting off, we're going to focus on the left side here and all of the menus associated with it. First of all, the name is right here in this text box right up here. You can even include emojis by clicking on this and choosing whatever emojis you want to. So we can have Pony Pizza, that's his name now. From there, we can scroll down to the bottom here where it says 6x. I think by default it's like 3x or like 4x or something like that. But all this does is allow you to zoom in on the character or zoom out on the character. You can make them quite small and they will be, well, small. I'm not really sure why you'd want it to look that small. In my personal opinion, you should probably keep it at 4x or higher. I personally like to keep it at 6 because this is the best zoom and it allows you to see the most detail of your character. Now, if you don't want to click on that option, if you are on PC, you can press O and P on your keyboard to zoom out or zoom in. Next up, we have this option right here, which allows us to change the background. Another super helpful tip before I continue on here is if you hover over anything on PC, it will actually just tell you what it does, so this is obviously super helpful, but this option allows you to change the color of the background. So we have this greenish color behind us. If we click on this, we can then click on this number right here, and it will allow us to actually change the background color to whatever we want. We can make it white, we can make it a deeper green, we can make it like a yellow, or a brown, or a black, or whatever we want to. We can even reset that back to default by clicking this arrow right here, and it will reset that color back to default. This color background will remain the same for all of your characters, so if I make this perfectly black and then click this button right here to scroll through my other characters, you can see that the background is black for all of them. There is another option to make it only specific for that character, but again, this is just for accessibility reasons, so it's not really that big of a deal anyway. Let's reset that and go on to the next option, which is the toggling name and tag. If I click on this, the name disappears above the character. Now, this again is just an accessibility thing. There's no real reason for this to be a feature, but if you want to do it, you can press in on your keyboard or just click that button there. Now, the horse is kind of an interesting one because it just turns the head. If you click it, it turns the head of the character. You can also press H on your keyboard if you are playing on PC, and it will rotate the character's head. If you click on this button right here, it will actually flip the pony completely, allowing you to see both sides of the character. So right now he's facing to the left, so we're seeing his left side. If I click on that, he is now facing to the right and we're seeing his right side. This is good when you're doing other options later in the character creation process. There's ways to make certain halves of it not the same as other halves, and so this can be really helpful for that. So it's definitely something you're going to want to be clicking on throughout your character creation process. You can also press F on your keyboard to do the same thing and flip it around. The last one is actually super helpful. If we click on this, it opens up a color palette here, and this allows us to save colors that we can use on other OCs, or if we just wanted to make a bunch of colors and then throw them on here, we can then make characters with that as well. So this is super helpful. We'll go over more of this in a moment, but basically you can have colors on here and you can click this and you can delete them or close the menu, or you can drag them here to delete them or rearrange them even. It's a really nice thing. The options here are amazing, and of course you can also just close it by clicking on this or pressing K on your keyboard. So if I click on this, it gets rid of it. If I press K on my keyboard, then it will open it back up. And another thing too about this is you can actually grab this and move it around. It's super helpful, and honestly, you'll probably be using it a lot whenever you're making characters and stuff like that, but for the sake of this, we're just going to close this out for now and continue on. There's two more options on here before we move on to more things. There is this arrow facing to the left and this arrow rotating to the right. This is an undo and redo option, so if you do something to the character that you don't like, you can press this to undo it, and you can press this to redo what you just undid. This also works with Z and Y on your keyboard if you're playing on keyboard and mouse. Now, the last few things here is this duplicate button. If I click on this, it duplicates the pony exactly as it is and makes a new character with the exact name and the exact setup. Everything about it is exactly the same. It just creates an exact clone of it. Next, we can do the revert option. This will revert it to the last save. So again, if I make a bunch of edits to my character and things like that, and then I hit revert, it will revert back to whatever the last save was. So if I hit save right here, this will happen. And then if I change his name to P or something to that effect, and then hit revert, it will revert his name back to Pony because that was the most previous save. And of course, the save option obviously saves the character. You can also just hit this big green button that says play on blank server, and it will just put you in the game, but also save your character. So with all of that out of the way, let's focus on the right side of the menu now and look at how we have all of these different tabs here. We have several tabs. We're going to go over all of them in this video, but let's start with body tab. This is where the majority of your options are going to be. You're probably going to be switching back to this menu, this tab throughout your character creation process. But if you're a supporter, you can actually include the supporter tag on your character by just clicking on this and including whichever one you want. You can also just disable it. So if for some reason you don't want people to know that you are a supporter, you can just hit the disable button and it will not appear for that character. This is per character, by the way. So if you have several characters, you will have to have this disabled for all of them if you don't want people to know that you've supported the game through Patreon or through Boosty. Another super helpful thing here is that there's these little eye symbols. It's just a little circle with an eye inside of it. If you hover over it, it actually explains and teaches you a little bit about how these things work. So right here, it says it changes supporter tag per pony. You can change the global default tags using in-game settings. So in the game, you can make that permanently off for all of your characters. Show social, if you click on that, you can actually attach a social media to your character. We have, in my example, I have Twitter, Patreon, and Discord associated with my characters. I can choose any of them or have none attached to them. Next up, we have description. This is a super helpful thing that allows you to sort through your characters. You can use hashtags to be able to quickly find specific characters, such as, like, let's say you want to make OCs, you can have all of them in a category. If you have a bunch of cosplays, you can put all of them in a category, etc. And you can also organize them by always at the top or always at the bottom by just doing at top or at bottom. And of course, you can even order them by 1, 2, 3, etc., etc., etc. if you want to do at 1, at 2, at 3 to order them manually. This is obviously super helpful if you have specific reasons to switch to characters if you want to keep things organized. So a quick example here is I can just do hashtag cause just right there. And now if I come over to the character creator over here on the left side and click this arrow right here to switch between all of my characters, I can click it and then click over here where it says the hashtag symbol, click on that, and you can see all of my tags. Oh wait, I didn't save it first. Hang on, I gotta save it first. Make sure you save it after you add the description because otherwise it won't work. But after you do that, hit save and then click on this and then click on the hashtag, and now you can see that cause is on there. So if I click on cause, my pony is in there. Amazing. So if I want to quickly switch to my cosplays, I can do so right here. And then of course I can do that for my other ones, so I have like a bunch of different birthmarks in here. So if you have a bunch of characters that are the same but like slightly different versions of themselves, this is obviously super helpful for that as well. But let's come back to cosplays and go back to pony so that we can continue editing our pony. Next up, we have the export and import option. This is actually kind of misleading because there is no way to import your characters, at least not on the base game. If you are part of an event or an event server, then you can import your characters, but you first have to have exported them from the main game, which is where we're at right now. So to export your character, again, you can't do anything with it except move it to an event server, so there's not really a whole lot of usefulness of this, but you can click on this weird icon right here, and then it gives you the option to export character or export all characters. If you click on export character, up there in the top right, you will see that it is exporting one of my characters, pony-town-ponypizza.ptc. This is a very basic file, and it allows you to import it into a game such as the event server. Ponytown.events, I think, is the URL for it. Don't quote me on that, but there's an event server that they do specific events for, and things like that, and you can actually import the character there using that exact file, and it will import that. Now, the same thing works, of course, if you export all characters. It just does it to all of them. This I don't necessarily recommend because there's a character limit, and you may accidentally go over it if you try to import them into the event server and things like that. Next up, we have the GIF. If we click on that, it will export the character as a GIF, which is very basic. I think he'll just be blinking. So let's do that, and then click on this to open it up, and then open up that GIF. There he is. It's a GIF of my pony. I'm pretty sure he should be blinking. I don't think he actually is though. He's not blinking. This is a GIF though. This is technically a GIF. It's weird. It is a GIF though, or a GIF or whatever. So we can close out of that. And if we hit the PNG symbol, the same thing happens, except he gets exported as a PNG. So again, if we open up that menu and click on this, it looks exactly the same, unfortunately, as the GIF, but it is a PNG now. So this is now a PNG of the character. And this is another great way for you to save your characters because there is no limit to the amount of ways and times you can export your characters. So I can export him as many times as I want. I can have 100 of these exact PNGs on my computer for some reason. It also has a transparent background, so it's good for editing purposes and certain things that you may find useful for that. The number next to the PNG symbol allows you to customize exactly how zoomed in the import is. So if I click on that, I always keep it at 16 because I think it's just useful. If I click on that and then hit 1 and then hit the PNG symbol, again, he's going to have a slightly different name. We're going to open him up, and now he's tiny in the PNG, and here he was without here he is with 16 zoom, and here he is with 1 zoom. So you can see the differences there. Now, again, I like to keep it at 16 just because I like to have things super zoomed in and things like that. I just think it just is better in my opinion. The last thing on here is actually image export settings. So if I click on that, we actually get a bunch of different options. So if I click on head only and make sure that is tagged like that, and then hit the PNG and then open that up and come over here, you can see that is now only his head that got exported. This is also useful in certain situations. Maybe you want a profile picture of just your OC's head, and this is the only character creator that you have of your head of your character or something like that. This is a great way to get a head that you can use as a profile picture or what have you. Now, there's a bunch of other options in here as well. I don't necessarily want to go over all of them, but if you hit eye blinking or name tag, so like eye blinking, he'll be blinking in the picture, which means you can't actually export it as a PNG. So if I hit PNG here, it's going to do a weird thing where it does this. So it's every single frame all together in one thing. So if you do something such as eye blinking, you'll want to import it as a GIF because otherwise it just straight up will not export properly. So now he's blinking just a little bit here and there. Every now and then, there he goes, he's blinking. This can be a really funny thing because if you export it as like a GIF that's blinking and then send it on like Discord or something like that, people will think it's just an image until it blinks and they're like, oh, what the fuck? And it will kind of freak them out a little bit. It can be fun that way. But of course, the name and tag means that the name and tag get imported with it as well. So you can see in this last one that we exported, it just has his name above him. But in the other one that we exported, his name is not above them. So that's what the name and tag does. You can also do the shadow, which allows you to get the shadow of the character at the bottom. This only works in PNG. It does not work with GIF. You can also get the background with them. So this is an example where the background color is actually feasible. I personally don't like to use this because 99% of the time that you're exporting your character, you want it to have a transparent background anyway, so there's no point in that. There's also fixed image size and add border padding and all this other stuff. Most of this you're not going to necessarily need. And personally, you're going to usually want to just turn all of these things off and then export it. And this is going to give you the best possible version of the export, in my personal opinion, because it gives you the full character. It doesn't have his name above him, and it has a transparent background. So if you want to use it for editing or anything like that, it's super helpful. And so that's personally what I use it for. Now, there's a couple of other things here as well. There is effects right here. So if we hit this heart, you can now see that the character on the left is now, he has his heart emotes and things like that. And it's, oh my goodness, Valentine's Day, am I right? If we click on it is 3 lines. If we click on that, he is now blushing as well. If we click on the thing next to that, it allows him to tear. And if we click on the thing next to that, he is now crying and tearing. And if we click on the thing next to that, he is now sleeping, crying, tearing, blushing, and giving off hearts all at the same time. Now, of course, we can toggle all of these however we please, but those are just options. And again, if you have any of these turned on and then export it, it will do something kind of interesting. So if we do the hearts and then hit PNG and then open that up, the PNG will do it as every single individual frame all next to each other in the same image. Not super helpful. So if you are going to include effects or something like that, it would have to be a GIF that you export it as, because otherwise the animation won't play, and also it'll give you like a billion copies of the same character all in one picture, and it just does not look good. So this is the best way to do it if you're going to use the effects. Always make it a GIF if you're using effects. Next up, we have this thing that says animation. This allows you to preview the animations of your character. So if we click on this thing that says stand, we can see what he looks like when he's trotting, or we can see what he's looking like when he's booping somebody, or we can see what he's looking like whenever he is lying down. He's sitting, he's lying, he's sitting back up, he's lying down again. And of course, there's all kinds of other options. He can't fly because he doesn't have wings or anything like that, but we can see what it looks like when he's sneezing. Another cool thing about this too is you can actually hit this pause symbol next to animation, and then it will actually pause the animation on the left, and you can then click these arrows right next to sneeze, and you can actually go frame by frame and see exactly how the animation plays out. It's kind of nice, but for the most part, you're going to keep it at stand because it's the best. We still have a lot more to go through, but we have some advanced options here. Don't let the word advanced scare you. These are actually super simple. Always respawn at spawn point just means that whenever you play the game, every single time you hit play, save and play, or play blah, blah, blah server, it will put you at the spawn point of the main map every time, no matter where you are. This is helpful if you want to stash your characters in a specific spot or something like that. For the most part, players usually don't have this option on, and it doesn't affect anything in the character creation process, so that's that. The other thing is allow custom outlines. This actually is super helpful because it allows you to customize the outlines of your characters. So if you take a look at the outline of my character right now, he has kind of this darkish reddish color around his red spots, and we have this locked outline darkness option over here on the right, and if I adjust this, we can actually change how dark or how bright his outlines are. We can go number by number by clicking the arrows. We can reset that back to default, whatever we want to, but we can make it as dark or as light as we want. This can be helpful for a number of things, but for the most part, people usually use it to kind of hide certain pixels or hide certain parts of their character. The background option allows you to change it specifically for that character and no one else. So if we hit the lock symbol there, it will unlock that option for us, and then we can click this number, or click this number, and then we can adjust the color. And then let's say we save that or whatever. Whenever we go to look at our other characters, you can see that none of them have that option, but as soon as we go back to Pony, he now has that option. It is specifically per character if you hit background here. However, if you hit background over here on the left where it says background and this little color palette symbol, it will be for all of the characters. I don't know why it's split like this. I guess it can be somewhat helpful, but that is an option for you. If you lock this, it will lock it back to default. So if you do adjust this color to whatever color you want, make sure you don't hit the lock symbol because otherwise it will reset it back to default and you'll have to click it again to get to the color. Next up, we have base color. This is just the base color of your character. This is going to take everything from your face to your ear to your legs to your body, even to your little rump there. If we click on that number, we can change that around, and as you can see, his color is slowly changing from gray to a green color to a blue color, and look at that, he is now a blue pony. The option right next to him is locked currently, but if we click that option, it will unlock it, and what this option is actually the outline color of that same thing. So his base color outline is now adjustable by us because we have allow custom outlines on. Keep a close eye on that because if we disable allow custom outlines, that second option next to base color disappears. This is how you can customize outlines. Just make sure allow custom outlines is on and then unlock the color option next to it. And then you can start adjusting this to be whatever you want. You can make it black, you can make it white, you can make it red for some reason. We can do all kinds of wacky, interesting things with this. And of course, we can always lock it to put it back to default. A handful of this stuff is pretty obvious. Obviously, front body is just going to change what the front of his body looks like. But as you change the front body option, you get different color options depending on what you choose. For example, this has this rainbowy option. This has the rainbowy option. This has like some spots here. It has one where it splits it in half, kind of. We have one that has like stripes on it and everything. So there is a number of options there. And of course, you can go through every single color to change any of them. The first color is always the default color or the base color of the pony. So right now our base color is 40CEBC. If we click on that and then make it back to red, it changes it here as well, even though we adjusted it in base color. So let's undo that because I like my character being blue, and let's look at some of the other things on here. The color, this little blue dot next to the word color, is the color that you're going to change on the thing. So if we take a look at this, this is a blue dot and the color itself is blue. If we look at our character on the left side, we can see that this blue color right here is the first spot on his neck. So we know if we start adjusting this one, it's going to adjust specifically that color. This is super helpful in other cases. This case right here is kind of very specific. It's like very obvious which color you're about to change, but in other cases, cases with certain leg patterns and certain mane patterns, this can be very confusing very quickly. And so this little color next to the word color allows you to know specifically what you're about to change on your character. So again, just to be sure, we can click on that and we can make that red, and look at that, that color now has changed to red. And of course, we can revert that back to the base color of our pony by hitting the box next to it. This will lock it to the base color and it'll be super helpful. And again, we can obviously adjust the outline of that specific color pattern. So this green part right here, we want that pattern to be black for some reason, or how about white so it sticks out. So now we have a white spot there, but not in the rest of our character. And this is where you can get very creative. You can have very like cool things, just combining different color patterns with the outlines and all kinds of other stuff. There is a lot of creativity you have here. Of course, back body works the exact same. You click on them and then you get a handful of different back options that you want to. It doesn't necessarily matter what you choose. You also have this match back body pattern option. If you click on that, it will actually make it to where the left half of your character is not the same as your right half. So if we do that and then hit, let's say, these spots right here, we can see that these spots are now on his left side because he's facing to the left. If we flip him, they're not on his right side at all. So they can actually make this to where it is not the same on all characters. Another thing to note too is as you scroll down, even on mobile or whatever else, your pony on the left side will actually scroll down with you, so you don't always have to scroll back to the top. I personally like to scroll back to the top sometimes when doing these because it's easier to see it, because sometimes the text over here on the left side can get behind it and stuff like that. But as you'll notice, he kind of follows us. Our pony follows us as we go through all the character editor stuff here. So again, we have his color pattern as these little dots on his left side, but now we have his color pattern right. Make sure it actually says right, so we know this is going to be his right side. If we click on that and then do these stripes, it doesn't look like it changed anything, but if we flip our character here real quick, he has stripes on his right side now. And again, we can change those colors to be whatever the heck we want. Let's make all of them white for some reason. Why not? And this is where the color palette can actually come in handy. So again, I'll open up that color palette by hitting K on my keyboard so I don't have to scroll back to the top. You can see that we have these color palette options here. I've already made these. By default, you're not going to have any in here, but we can actually choose any of these colors we want. Let's say we want this part to be pink. We can click it and drag it, or tap and hold and drag it if we're on mobile, and then we can move it and we can place it on any of the squares anywhere on anything. So we can even put them over here or whatever, but let's put it right here, and boom, that is now pink. That is now pink there. Now, if you want to save the colors, all you have to do is grab the color right here from the editor and then drag it over into the color palette and let go. Once you do that, it's now saved in there, and you can do whatever else you want with it, like drag it over here and drag it over here, or you can even just delete it by doing this, or if you want to delete it in another way, you can delete everything all at once, which you obviously don't want to do. So those are some interesting stuff you can do with the color palette. The color palette also can be adjusted, the size of it can be, so you can adjust it to be like a little bit smaller or whatever else. I'm really not sure why you'd want to do that. I personally think you would want it to be almost as big as possible in my opinion, but that's just me. Now we can hit K to get rid of that. And again, that is something else we can do. We can just get some colors. Even from over here, we can just grab and drag that and then drag that over here and change these colors as well. So there's a click and drag option there for you to do stuff. The leg patterns work very similar to the body pattern things we were doing a moment ago, because we can actually match it for both legs, we can match it for both front legs, or we can match it for both back legs. And if we do all of these options, we can now adjust specifically the left front leg, specifically the front right leg, or specifically the back left leg, or specifically the right back leg. And so we can do stripes for the left one, we can do these kinds of stripes for the other one, then we can do these little spots for this one, and then we could just have no pattern on the other one. And you can see he has different patterns on every single leg now, because that's just what we're doing. And again, we can obviously change the colors of these to be whatever the heck we want. You can also type in, I don't know why I didn't say this yet, but you can also type in a specific color. So let's say we want that to be red. I can just type in the word red, and Ponytown will try to fill in what it thinks the color red is. For example, if we do gold, this is what Ponytown thinks gold looks like, and so it just does it as that. So you can put in the word. You also have, of course, the color codes, so you could do something like 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, and apparently that's a blue color. I didn't know that, but that's what that is. The same thing happens with the hooves. You could also adjust the hooves, and you can do the same thing you did with the legs, where you can make the front legs different or the back legs or whatever else like that. And you have a bunch of different options there. We can click them and then adjust the colors, and then this leg will be this leg, and then this leg will be this, etc., etc. And now all of his legs are a little bit different. His horn is something that you have to have if you want to have magic in the game. The magic in the game doesn't necessarily do anything. All it necessarily does is light up an area around you. But if we give him a horn, any of these horns, it doesn't matter which one it is, even this Kieran one, we suddenly get more options. As you can see, there's none here. If we click on this, there is now options, not only to give it a specific color pattern, but also this option right here that says magic color. If we click on that, you can immediately see that his horn glows, and we can actually adjust whatever color we want that to be, from black to green to red to whatever the color we want it to be. Let's make it black, because that's interesting, right? The moment we let go of that, as soon as we click away from that, it will make this preview go away unless we do something else specific. So if we click away from that, his magic will go away. But if we scroll back to the top here, all the way up here, you can see that the effects option now has a new one, this little star thing. If we click on that, it now shows what it looks like when his horn is active. And that is pretty much all you can do for his front horn. Obviously, you can make them a different size and things like that. There's different options there. Now, something else we can do is side horns. Side horns are also interesting because we can also match these. So we can have one horn be the other or have them both be the same. So if I click match side horns, we now can adjust his left one and his right one independently. So if I click on this, you don't necessarily see anything, but if I flip him, that horn is now on that side. And if we flip him again, we can see that there's none on that side. We can even make that horn this way and that horn this way, and you can see that he is now an abomination. Next up, you have wings. You absolutely have to have wings if you want your character to fly in the game, which actually is a mechanic. So if we click on any of these options, we can give him some wings. Something interesting you could do is match the wings. So you can have one wing on one side, but not a wing on the other. So if I click on match wings there, we can have, of course, one wing on his left side and then no wing on his right side. To make sure there is nothing on that spot, we just hit that X, and now X is chosen. And so he has no wing on his right side, but if we flip him, he has one on his left side. Now, it's very important to note this message right here. This wing combination does not allow you to fly. So if I go into the game right now, this character will not be able to fly at all. There is a certain number of combinations you can do. For example, if you have like a changeling wing or like a bug wing on one half, and then any other wing combined with it, it just won't let you fly. So there's a handful of options you can do there that just don't work necessarily together. Next up, of course, is ears. This works exactly the same. You can give him any kind of ear you want to, or you can match ears to give him specifically a specific left one and a specific right one. Finally, we move on to the butt mark. This is basically just a pixel editor. You can click this button right here to get any color you want. Let's choose black, and then you can draw on this however you want to. You can click this trash can right here, and it clears the entire butt mark. You can do any kind of symbol you want to. You can combine colors just like so. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I'm doing something. There is an eyedropper tool right here, so if I click that and then come over here and click the black, it instantly equals black, and then I can go back to the pen tool or the brush tool or whatever else like that to get more black stuff on there as well. And of course, there's an eraser option. If I click on that and then start clicking on things, it will erase the options that I did there. Now, of course, this also allows you to match butt marks, so you can have one on the left side and one on the right side that are either different or flipped or some other weird number of that. You can also have it to where it just doesn't flip the mark on the right side. So for example, if we draw an L right there and then get rid of his wings so we can actually see it, you can see that this L is facing to the right, but for some reason on his right side, it's facing the opposite direction. If we flip him, you can see that it's facing the correct direction. And if we click on this, it makes it to where it's the same on both sides, regardless of which way he's flipped. So now, back at the top of our character editor, we can click on main, tail, face, items, and extra and get a bunch of different options for every single one. Let's start with mains. Now, mains, of course, are very simple. It's just choose a main and it gives you a main. You can also choose a back main and it gives you a back main. It's very simple. It's just how character editors work, and I don't think there's much tutorial needed in that. However, there are a couple things to note here. First of all, some of these have 3 dots on the bottom right of their options. So if I click on one, you actually get a variant option. So let's get rid of the back main here real quickly. So now that we don't have a back main there, we can actually get a better idea of what these options look like. Also, let's go back to body and get rid of the magic thing because I think it's also going to affect this. So if we click on this option here, we can then click on this, and you can see that there is a small variant difference in them. Now, it doesn't necessarily change the color patterns options that you can do, but it does change the look of the hair. This is true for every single one that has 3 dots in the bottom right. So that one has options. Some of them have more options than others, but for the most part, if it has 3 little dots in the bottom right corner, you can actually change the option right here. It's this thing right next to the horn. So some of the options variants are a little bit weird, but it is what it is. The same thing is true for the back mains. So if I click on the back mains here, you can actually see that there is a little bit of difference in that as well. Now, an important thing to note is like some of the ears and some of the horns will cover up certain things. So like, as you can see here, I have like these big ponytails here, but I have horns here that is clearly covering up the hair, and it just makes it look a little bit weird and a little bit hard to notice everything. Everything else in the main options should be pretty clear for you based on what we covered in the body tab. So let's move on to the tail tab next, by just simply pressing the tail button right here. The tail option is actually the same as the main option. You have some that have 3 dots that give you slight different variation, but otherwise they're just tails, and you can change the color pattern of them to do certain things. The only other thing to note here is that you have a lock to base color option. Now, this obviously tooltip here actually helps you know what that does. It says use the base color instead of the main color. So the base color is this weird blue color because that's what her face and body is here. So if I click on this, it will actually lock the hair to that color. Obviously, it can be very easily unlocked, but if we click on that, you can see that his tail now becomes blue. If we unclick that again, we can, of course, just hit this lock button right here and easily adjust whatever color tail we want. Moving on to face, things finally get a little bit more complicated again. We have the option to change the eye color. Make sure to just take note of like this orange right here and orange right here. That is what color we're about to change on his face. So if we do that and then make those black, his eyes are now black. We can make them red, whatever we want to. We can also change the eye whites color as well. So if we click on that and then just change those around, we can make his eyes black or like red with it, or we can make them like a blue color or whatever color we want to. We can do any kind of number of things with this, even get it fine-tuned as such. So for the eyes, a couple of things here. You can just go with these few options right here, or you can click these 3 dots right here to show more eye options. These are organized by, as far as I can tell, emotions. So you have some more sad and depressed ones down here, and then some sillier ones and angrier ones around here, and all kinds of options like that. So obviously, to change the face, or sorry, to change the eyes, you're just going to click on these options. Some of them are very silly, like this one, that's just a straight line. Some of them are a little bit more serious, like this one. Some of them are sad, and some of them, of course, are angry. There's actually a lot of angry ones, and they're pretty much more or less organized by emotion. So they're not too hard to find. You can also hit this lock symbol right here, which locks both eyes. So you can have the left eye be different from the right eye, just like how you can with literally every other option. Same thing happens with eye whites and eye colors. So you can make one eye color white if you want to, and one of these black if you want to, whatever. There's no way to show less. I just realized that. That's kind of interesting. Once you hit show more on the eyes, you just can't show less, can you? Yeah, there's literally no way to show less once you've hit show more. That's kind of interesting. I never knew that, and I think that's an oversight by the developers. So if you do choose to show all options for the eyes, you cannot show less. Just keep that in mind when you're going forward. Now, you can do something cool with the pupils as well, so you can adjust the pupils to be whatever, so you can have the pupils looking in a certain direction or kind of change the size of them a little bit and stuff like that. And of course, they also have a show more option, which allows you to choose more options. Now, some of them are unavailable for certain eyes. So for example, I can't choose these 3 because the eye option that I chose earlier does not support this. And again, we can hit this lock symbol here, which changes it to where now I can use the left eye or the right eye and change them independently. So the left eye can be like this and the right eye can be like this, or whatever the heck crazy thing I want to do. So now we have eyeshadow options. Oh, and also just like with the eye options, the pupils also don't have like a show less option. So once you do it, you're just stuck with that. It's just, I mean, you can choose like the other options, but it's just, you're stuck with the expanded version for some reason. I don't know why they did that. But anyway, eyeshadows. You can now add eyeshadows to the character as well. If you hit this little checkbox right here, it will actually equip the eyeshadows, and then you can actually change the color of it. Let's make those white. We can actually even change the outline of them to make them like black. It's kind of hard to tell, but there's 1 pixel that's changing right there. And honestly, that's just something that like, It's really hard to ever tell what's really going on with the outline sometimes, but that is what's happening there. And of course, just like the others, you can hit this lock symbol there, and it now shows the eyeshadow to the left and eyeshadow to the right. So now the eyeshadow to the left, we'll make that one a bright red, and this one we can make a bright white. Wow, look at that. We can even make it black or something. We can do all kinds of options like that. Eyelashes are the same. You can give him different eyelashes or change it so that you can have him eyelashes on one eye, but not the other. Eyelash color, you can also change the eyelash color, which is interesting because it actually changes the entire outline of the eye, so you can do some really wacky stuff if you really wanted to. Very weird stuff, honestly. Like, there's a lot of weird options you can do if you get into it enough. There's also the blush color. This allows you to change the color of the blush. To activate this one, you'll actually have to hit the lock symbol for this one. And if you click on that, it actually shows the blush preview there. This is just an emote that you can do in the game, so it doesn't necessarily affect your character, except when you make this specific emote. So if we do that, we can change it to whatever blush color we want. So we can make that black if we want to for some reason. Then we can just keep them permanently blushing or something, so we can have those options there. As you can see, it already went away for some reason. Why did it go away, actually? I guess after so long, it just goes away if you click off of it. I didn't know that, actually. So I just learned something new here today, too. Now, there's also a muzzle option here as well. So if you click on these, you slightly change the muzzle. It's a little bit hard to kind of tell what the different options are. Some of them have extra colors, so we can make that like a black color or something if we want to. And of course, you can change the outlines of those as well. Now, the base color is... the layers is an interesting thing here as well. So the layers, if we hit add layer right here, we can start adding face paint to our character. Now these are like markings or whatever, but we can have like some spots here, and then we can add another layer, and on this layer we can have like this spot on there, and then we can add another layer, and on this layer we have a line, and of course we can adjust the line of that. We can adjust all the colors and do all kinds of interesting stuff like that. We can even rearrange them so that they're in a different order and stuff like that, and different things happen based on what order you have them in, because things just look a little bit weird or different. And you can of course change the color of everything. So if we have this option right here, click on this again, you now have the option to make this white or green or like whatever this color is. And if we click on this, we can then come back over here and change all of that. You even have these little preview options right here. So if we click on that, it actually toggles it off so you can't see that layer. It's a very interesting thing. Honestly, this is super helpful, and there's a lot of options you can do in this, such as lock it to the base color so it just gets rid of it that way for you. There's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with this, and if you just want to delete a layer, all you have to do is click on that layer and then hit this trash can, and it will delete that selected layer. So if we want this line gone, we click on the line and then click on this, and it removes that layer. The only layer you can't remove, of course, is the base layer. And you can have like, how many layers can you have? You can have like 10 layers more or less. Up to 10 layers. That's insane. Now, next up we have Fangs. This is kind of hard to tell, but it does give you one tooth right there, and that is an interesting thing there. Now, mouths are interesting too, because of course you can adjust it to be any kind of thing. So if we click this, just like before, it's kind of adjusted by emotion. So we have some happy stuff here. We have some like, I don't even know what this is, I guess shy options here. And then we have just sticking your tongues out like all silly and stuff like that, like laughing, and then some more angry stuff. And maybe, I don't really know what some of these faces would be, to be honest with you, but let's just stick to that one and move on, because we can actually change the mouth color. As you can see, the inside of his mouth is a specific color, but we can change that to be white or black. We can also change his teeth to be red, or actually red's kind of funny because it looks like lipstick. And then you can change his tongue color to be whatever color you want as well. And you can do some weird stuff with this too. You can even change specifically the fang color if you have fangs. So his fangs are going to be white, so now it looks even weirder. But those are all kinds of options you have there, including facial hair. Facial hair is also in this category. So if we scroll back to the top here now, we can now get into the items tab. So if we go to the items tab, it is actually split up into multiple subcategories such as head, neck, chest, back, legs, and waist. So on the head tab, you have the option to add certain hats. In my personal opinion, a lot of the hats don't really work very well with like horns and certain manes and stuff like that, but there's hats there. Again, it's hard to tell, but there's hats on his head right now. Now, there's also color patterns you can do to those hats of just like everything else. You can also give him ear accessories, so we can have him like have these headphones on or a specific earring or something. And just like many other options in this game, you can hit this match ear accessory option, and if you do that, you can have his left ear have the little leaf thing there, and if we do this, his right ear will now have the microphone. So right ear, left ear, you can adjust those just like everything else. There's also forehead accessories, except it should just say accessory because all you have is the flower crown currently as of recording this. There's also eye accessories like glasses and stuff like that, which are obviously just simple options there. Finally, you have masks in this option, in this category, and you can have it to be where it's pulled down or pulled up. You can do all kinds of fun things like that. So you can like do specific patterns for them and then have it be pulled up or pulled down, and you could do some weird monsters like this. Very, very creepy stuff you can do with that stuff. But let's go ahead and get rid of the mask here and move on to the neck accessories, because the neck accessories are pretty simple. It's pretty much just stuff that goes around your neck, like this spiked collar or this necklace or these headphones here or a scarf even. But just like the mains, there are some that have these 3 dots, and if we click on that, you have different variants of that same thing. So we have a skull necklace here. We can have it be slightly lower on the neck or even slightly further down on the neck, whatever you want. Now onto the chest accessory. If we go to chest, this just gives you the option of a bunch of different shirts and I guess this cloak thing. So we have shirts, we have hoodies, all kinds of stuff here. I'm not really sure what some of these would be called. I think most of them are basically just sweaters. But if you do that, choose any of these right here that actually have sleeves. This one will not work. But if you choose any of the other ones, you could then adjust the sleeves. And so we can have short sleeves, slightly longer sleeves. We can have like a torn sleeve kind of thing, or like a long torn sleeve, whatever you want. And you can match the sleeves. So the left sleeve can be torn and messed up, and the other one can be totally normal, so you can have like a messed up sweater here basically. Of course, you can change the color pattern and a bunch of options like that with those as well. Moving on to the back accessories, this is where you're going to get into kind of a dress situation, because you have a bunch of different skirt options here, such as a short skirt, this kind of like smooth skirt, I guess, whatever kind of, I don't know what these skirts are called. Personally, these last 2 here I think are closer to dresses than they are skirts, but technically they are skirts, and they have a bunch of different patterns and stuff for you to use. Next up, you have the option of different pants. So you have some pants, you have some shorts, and you have pants with like a weird collar thing at the end of it. So there's a bunch of different options for that. Now, again, just like many other things, you can hit match pants legs, and you can then have pants that are long on one half and short on the other. So if you look, short and long all at the same time. Really weird. Again, I don't know why you'd want to do this. Maybe you can make some kind of weird monster or something with it, but it is what it is. Now, there's also the butt mark above pants option. If we click this, the butt mark will actually appear above the pants. So if you wanted to show off your character's butt mark, you can actually do that even when they're wearing pants. Finally, in the back accessories, you have this little bow here. 2 different bows. They're just tail accessories, nothing too fancy there or too much to go over. Next up, we have legs. If we go to legs, there's a couple of things that happen here. The leg accessories are interesting because you can actually adjust some of the pants stuff there. It can get very confusing. This is where things can get kind of confusing at, in my personal opinion. But you can have the same accessory for front, back, and right legs. And then you can have like the right leg be a different accessory like this. This just is like, I don't even know really what this menu is for, to be honest with you. Obviously, it helps you adjust things, but it feels like all of the stuff that's in this category could have just been done right here, in my personal opinion. But you can add layers, and so layers are where things get interesting. So if I go to his pants here and I add a layer, I can actually have him have shoes on, and he's got a shoe on all at the same time. How about that? It's a weird thing you can do technically, and you can do a bunch of different layers here as well. How many layers can we do on this one? Can we do 10 layers on this one too? Yeah, I didn't think so. You can have 5 layers on legs, and you can do that for every single leg. So every single leg can have a different combination of stuff, and honestly, you can get some really weird things happening here as well. But those are a lot of options there. It's kind of similar to the face markings and stuff like that. So if you followed along pretty well there, you should be fine here as well. So finally, we get into the waist accessories and the items. And the items for the waist, all you get is like a sword, or like this book bag, or like a flower bag, or these like little butterfly wings that do not function as wings, this potion bottle, all kinds of different options like that. But more or less, it just works how the mains and everything else do. You just click it and it equips it. Finally, we can go on to the absolute last thing here, which is the waist, or sorry, the extra. The extra tab here is the last thing on our list to go over. Now, this is where you're going to be able to do a number of things, such as customize a plushie or equip a collectible toy that you've collected during one of the holiday events, such as the winter holiday event or the Halloween event. It even says winter holiday toys versus Halloween toys there. So for the custom plushie, all you're gonna do is hit this plus symbol right here in the top right. Once you do that, it's gonna bring up another menu. It's even gonna push your character down a little bit so you can see the pony a little bit here. So his ear is gone now, so we can see this a little bit better. So you can actually name the plushie. We can name it for example. We can also give him emojis, so he now is also a pizza. This is just the name of the plushie. It doesn't necessarily affect anything. You can give him custom outlines like you can yourself, but from here on out, everything in the pony plushie editor is basically the same as it is for your main character editor. So if you followed along pretty well through everything else so far, this part should be a breeze for you, because again, we can just give him color patterns and change the pattern of different stuff. We can give him weird eyeballs. We can give him weird ears if we wanted to, some antenna. If we go to the body tab, we can adjust certain body patterns and things like that. You can change his mane color and his mane look and all kinds of cool stuff. Even some tails. There's a lot of tail options in here. And again, if it has 3 dots next to it, when you click on it, a variant option appears. It can be kind of hard to tell the difference on some of these, but there is a difference in all of them. Once you're done with it, you can hit the Save Plush button right here, and it saves the plushie, and then you can hit the arrow right here, and it will go back to all of your custom plushies, and then you can equip any of them that you want to, or do whatever else you want with them. You can even delete them. So if I click on this, and then hit the delete button right here, it deletes the plushie. It will ask if you're sure if you want to do it, but once I do it, he's gone, and that plushie is just gone. Now, if I click on one like this, I can edit that plushie specifically by hitting the edit button here, or I can duplicate that plushie specifically by hitting this duplicate button right here. Very simple. Now, everything else is just the collectible toys. So if I wanted to have this equipped to my character whenever I join the game, I can just click on this, and then when I hit save and play, he'll have that equipped to him whenever the game begins. So that pretty much covers just about every single thing in the game when it comes to character customization. There's a couple more things. I forgot to mention that there's an undo and redo up here in the top right as well. So I can hit that and it will undo options as well and redo options as well, just like that. Secondly, if you do delete something, let's say we delete this awesome character right here, we can hit the delete button right here by just hitting that right there. If we click it, it will ask us if we're sure we want to do it, and make sure, and just if you read this carefully, you'll see that it says recycle bin. What the heck? There's a recycle bin in this game. So let's go ahead and confirm deleting him. This gives us another random character that is in my character list. Now, if I want to recover that character, I can click on this arrow right here, which allows me to switch between other characters that's in my character list. But I can also click this that has 3 dots and it says more options. It actually gives us the option to get into our recycle bin. We can also select ponies so we can delete multiple or do certain things to multiple characters. We can even sort our characters by the name or the creation date or even recently played. But if we click on that recycle bin, you can see that we have a handful of characters in here that have been deleted, such as Skella. Wow, that's crazy. What the heck is Skella doing in there? I can't believe it. It's a terrible McDonald's Skella that I made and I deleted it because I didn't like it. But anyway, we have this character right here that we just made and we deleted it, and oh no, I didn't actually want to delete that forever, so let's go ahead and try to recover it. All you have to do is hit this button right here that says restore. It's a blue arrow moving to the left. If you click restore, it will restore the character and instantly go back to the character over here. If you want to delete something forever, such as this one right here, which will not be named, we can click on it and then hit the check mark and it will be deleted forever. It will never be recoverable ever again, so let's just go ahead and delete that, and it's just gone forever. It's impossible to recover that character. I think even if you contact the developers, I think even they cannot recover that character, so it's just gone. You're just done. It's gone forever. It's deleted. And something else to note about the recycling bin as well, I genuinely don't know how long this stuff lasts in the recycling bin. I think it's supposed to be like 30 days or something like that, unless you open it up and do something to one of the characters or something like that, but I'm pretty sure at a certain point, they just get deleted forever in here. Now, by default, you can have, I think, like only a handful of ponies in your recycling bin before it just starts deleting them forever. So just keep that in mind, because you can only have a recycling bin that's so full. But that does pretty much cover absolutely every single thing that there is to do. Apparently, some kind of connection to the server was messed up. Let's reload to see what's going on with that actually real quick. Okay, literally nothing happened. But now that we've made our character, we can hit save right here and it saves the character for us. Or we could just hit this button right here that says play on the 18+ server. If I click on play on the 18+ server, it'll of course bring us right here, back to spawn. And I don't want to be here because it's scary and I don't want people to see me using this thing. So we're going to go back to the game and the character editor. And that is pretty much everything. If you have any questions, please do let me know in the comments below. I know this was long, but it should serve as an ultimate guide to making characters in Ponytown. And if you have questions yourself, please do check the comments first to make sure that your question hasn't been answered already. Even if it has been answered already, I will probably answer it anyway. But just do that in case people are asking the same questions over and over and over again. But besides besides that, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and doing all of those wonderful things like that. Because when you do wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become wonderful yourself. And I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.